Hello and welcome to Media Beat. I'm Chris Ahrens, editorial director here at Mediabistro.com, and we're here with Ed Schultz, host of The Ed Show on MSNBC. Ed, thanks so much for coming in.
Appreciate the opportunity, Chris. Good to be with you.
So your show is on a roll. 2010, in the fourth quarter, you were the number 2 show at 6 o'clock, beating Wolf Blitzer. You gave MSNBC its best 6 o'clock performance ever in the history of the network. What are you doing there that people are taking to?
Well, thank you for noticing. It's been a long haul. It's been a real transition for me from doing just a network radio show now to doing cable TV. I did a lot of TV in the past, which was sports, but that was years ago. I haven't been on camera since '96, so it was kind of like brushing off a new skill set, an old skill set. And but I think our show, when I came to MSNBC, what I wanted to do was talk about kitchen table issues. I went right after healthcare right away. I went after jobs. I went after organized labor when it comes to collective bargaining and how important that is. Talking about the manufacturing sector of America, the jobs that we have lost, and the trade policies. And I thought all of those issues really connected right directly to the American family.
You're a liberal Democrat, union supporter. You say you're from the heartland. You speak to folks in the heartland. Do you feel like your show speaks to those people who may not otherwise have a voice in media?
Well, I have to admit, I use the voices of my radio show to give me some direction in the television show. I feel like I have a real resource at my hands to get a feeling of what the pulse of the people is. And I've gone out and I've done, over the last 4 years, I've done over 40 town hall meetings with the radio show. And when you get out and you push the flesh and you talk to people and you see the tears coming down their eyes, or you see the jubilation that someone in Washington did something that they like, it gives you a sense of where the public is. And on a daily basis, it gives me a pretty good sense on where people are and what a good story is.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the shootings in Tucson. It didn't take long after the gunfire rang out for fingers to be pointed. And a lot of those were pointed at the heated rhetoric that we see coming from elected officials in Washington and from some radio and TV talk show hosts, of which you have a radio. You're one of those rare people who have
Sure.
a radio show and a TV show. What do you say to those people who are critical and say enough of that kind of talk?
Well, I think there's 3 facets to this. There's an issue of mental illness, which I think the country has been inept when it comes to understanding, funding, dealing with. There's the issue of guns. Not that, I'm a gun owner and I'm a sportsman coming from the part of the country where I've worked most of my life. But we have a hard time in our society of making sure that we don't allow firearms into the hands of the wrong people. This clearly was that case. And the third issue is, debatably, the rhetoric that is gone and the style and the tone that takes place in America. I'm very intrigued by the fact that the conservatives in this country say that the rhetoric had nothing to do with the event that unfolded, but yet Roger Ailes wants his people to tone it down. So which is it? I think at one time or another, all of us have said something that could be interpreted as inflammatory. I think at one time or another, all of us would have said something that we'd like to have back. But I don't think that the general discourse in the country brought anybody to this situation to do that. I mean, this is a mental illness issue, and it's something I think we need to deal with, and deal with it legislatively.
In your first show after the shootings, you spoke to one of the heroes who, in Arizona, you can have a license to carry a gun, and he was carrying a gun on that day, and he told you that he would have used it, but he's glad he didn't have to go there. Yet he was one of the people who restrained the suspect. But you're in favor of stricter gun laws, and this guy told you it doesn't matter. You can make all the laws in the world. The wrong kind of people are still going to get their hands on guns.
Well, I think you make a very profound point there, Chris, because we are the arena of ideas. Cable news shows. We provide a service. To have that gentleman who was right in the heat of the battle, in a very intense life or death situation, this is how he feels about carrying a firearm. I think he needs to be heard. I think that he may influence some people, but then again, some others may disagree with him. It's a hot issue. The assault weapons ban expired in 2004, and this guy could have, under the old legislation, he would have been limited to only 10 rounds for that pistol. He showed up with what, nearly 100. So we have to make a determination as a society as what we want to allow and where we want to go with all of this. But I thought that, I found that interview to be interesting because I didn't know he was going to go there. And he gave a real heartfelt comment about why he carries a firearm and used that incident as an example to justify his position. And I think that connected probably with a lot of people in the country.
Did it change your opinion at all?
It did not. I respectfully understand where he's coming from, but I honestly believe that if we had a better system of making sure that people mentally disturbed didn't have a firearm, we'd be a safer society.
Let's get back to the show. And you've been criticized for some of the things you've said about politicians, elected officials, the entire Republican Party. Earlier this month, you called them bastards. With Governor Chris Christie, you called him a cold-hearted fat slob. This is you. This is Ed Schultz, who's passionate. But some of the things get you in a little hot water with the bosses. Have you had to tone down some of the things that you've had to say either on the radio or on the TV show?
I have not been instructed to tone it down, and I think that that's a tremendous credit to Phil Griffin, who's the president of MSNBC. He's never told me what to say. He's told me to be smart.
Yeah.
And I can't have my own set of facts. I can have my passion. I can have my opinions. And I think that's the draw to cable news. That's the people understand that there is an opinion that's going to go with every story, and we are in the arena and using the vehicle to do just that because everyone at home is formulating an opinion, but we have to be correct with the facts. We can't make stuff up. And I think that we have been, as a network, very solid on that. And so, whereas I have become passionate and labeled people and characterized people maybe in a negative light, I don't believe in any sense of the word it's ever been violent, nor has it ever suggested a revolution or a government takeover or made the, quote, the government or the legislative process the boogeyman. And I think that there is a real difference there. I will admit that sometimes my show gets to bar talk, but that's how people talk. And I think that's one of the, things that draws people to the show because I'm a regular guy that stops in for a beer after work every now and then.
Right. And happy hour, perfect time, 6 o'clock.
There you go.
What's the difference between radio ed and TV ed?
Well, I think on radio, you obviously have a lot more time to expound on your position, and you have an opportunity to converse. Television, far more condensed and much more restrictive in a sense. But I think for me as an air talent, one makes the other one stronger. I think that because of my radio show and my preparation, I come to the TV camera better prepared. A real good command of what is happening and a better sense of where my listeners and viewers are on issues, and I think that's an asset.
Okay. We're here talking with Ed Schultz, host of MSNBC's The Ed Show. In the next segment, we're going to talk more about cable news in general and some of the heated rhetoric we're seeing across the dial, so stick around.